One of the challenges to the reading and language test on the new SAT is time management. In other sections of the SAT, most notably the math section, questions are given to you in order of difficulty, meaning that when you sit to take the test, you're better off doing number one, then number two, then number three. You start with your easiest question, you work your way up to slightly harder questions, and by the end of the test, you are doing the hardest material that they have. And that makes sense if you're under time pressure because you want to get as many easy questions right as possible. All questions are worth the same in the end. So the last thing you'd want to do is run out of time where there are easy questions that you could still be answering. So if they put all the easy stuff in the front of the test, they're doing you a favor. However, that's not how the reading and language test is organized. The reading and language test is organized around passages, and they follow the logic or the progression of the passage. So your first question doesn't have to do with the easiest material, it has to do with the material presented first in the passage. So with that in mind, we should think about a way that we could redesign or reallocate our time when taking the reading and language test. So to this end, we're going to note that there are 4 different types of questions that you normally see in the reading section. Really briefly, these are vocab and context questions, specific line reference questions, meaning that the question itself refers to a line or set of lines particularly. Then there are the general questions about the passage, what we consider to be main idea or tone or attitude or big picture questions. And then in certain cases, there are what are called comparative understanding questions, where you have a pair of essays that you're reading at the same time, or you have an essay that's paired with some kind of visual like a chart or a diagram or a map. If we think about these 4 question types, we can generalize with pretty great success what's going to take us more or less time to answer and what we're going to have greater chances of success in answering. Therefore, when you're approaching the reading and language test, I believe you should read the questions before you read the passage. This is to minimize rereading. If you think of it, if you read the whole passage, then you look at the questions, you immediately start looking back to the passage when you look at the questions. And you're rereading. And the more time you spend rereading, the less time you are answering. If we can find a way of informing ourselves as to what's important based on the questions before we read, though we may be reading a little more slowly, we will be rereading less, and therefore we'll have more time to answer questions. So I say first, read the questions. When you're reading the questions, when you come upon a vocabulary and context question, by which I mean something that looks like this. In line 7, the word skimmed most nearly means. Or in line 43, the author uses the word helped to mean. Those questions you should answer right away. You do not need to have an understanding of the passage. You don't need to understand anything beyond that word in that particular sentence to answer the question. When you see these questions, they always give you a line number. You can go right to it, pull out the word, plug in the 4 options, and choose your best answer. Even if you get it wrong, chances are not going to improve that you get it right based on more time. They really are questions that deal with one word in one particular usage, so you should answer these right away, thereby reducing the overall question burden upon you. They take just a couple of seconds, and since each passage has about 11 questions on it, you can bet on seeing probably 2, maybe 3 of these per passage. Instead of answering 11 questions at the end, now you're answering 8 or 9, which is definitely more manageable. Next on our list, when we see questions that have specific line references, we're not going to answer these immediately, but we are going to take a pencil and go to the passage and mark the lines in question. This means that as we are reading, when you're reading and you get to those lines that have been marked, you're going to answer the question. So we're going to answer vocab questions immediately. We're going to answer specific line reference questions as you go. Answer those as you read, as it says on the slide there. Again, 11 questions overall, 2 or 3 are going to be vocab. 3 or more might be specific line reference questions. And now, by the time I've finished reading the essay, I've cut my questions in half. What are left for me then are the main idea, tone, purpose, or comparative questions that are left for the very end. Those take more time. They may be not even all that difficult, but they will take more time because they take more reading. And now I have more time to answer them. So that's a really quick approach to the reading test. Read the questions first, prioritize the questions in order of difficulty, in order of how much time it will take to answer. and get all of your cheap points first. And this way, even if you run out of time, you at least run out of time on hard stuff, and you've gotten as many easy points as you can. And I think this should help you in using your time more effectively and hopefully in increasing your score.